Peace, Divine Family. We back again. Had a little technical difficulties with this very reliable technology, but we are here in Divine Exchange. I would love to prop this up a little bit, but that's okay. We are here in Divine Exchange. Mind Ascension. Once again, peace to my 6 to 22 strand, 7 to 9 ether, you melanin, selenium base, black gods of this planet. With my brother here, Black Light Order. Right?
To the Black family.
For those that was tuned in for a second, y'all already know how we started. But let's just get straight into it. Let me do my thing again because I think it's very important. My brother here, as an intelligent divine being that he is, constantly has questions. And that's the beautiful thing about intelligence, because questions is the evidence of intelligence. And, humans today have been so conditioned with the ego mastering their existence that they actually hesitate to ask questions, and they actually allow their ego to make them feel a certain way if they have to ask questions. But if you notice, a child has not yet developed that certain level of ego which blocks that intelligence to ask questions. That's why children question everything. All right, so on that note, my brother here, he had already started. I ain't gonna lie, I feel like this should need to be propped up more. Or maybe, it just need to be tilted. Just need to be tilted. That's all right.
Perfect.
So, yes, my brother, let's start once again.
Yes, sir.
Pardon the technical difficulties, family.
Yeah, so basically the question I asked, or I'm going to ask now, is what is fear? Why do we experience fear? How does it benefit us? And is it something we can get rid of?
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now let's get right into it. As I was saying before technology had interrupted us, fear is a combination of things. Number one, on the physical, it's a chemical reaction within the body, from the brain to the limbs, from the glandular structure to the hormonal effect, which we call adrenaline, and so on and so forth. And then number two, it's the unknown, because many of us are in fear of things that we don't know, that we don't recognize, that we can't see, that we're unaware of. And it's the unknown. A child is afraid of the dark because they don't have the light to see what's there. And then on top of that, many of us as humans in this current society, because we wasn't always conditioned like that, in this current society, we're conditioned to believe all darkness is bad and all light is good. All blackness is bad, all whiteness is good. So therefore, already off the bat, we have a negative connotation connected to darkness, which is connected to the unknowingness. And unknowingness is only nothing but infinite potential. When we talk about unknowingness, we talk about something that's not molded yet. We talk about something that's not solidified yet. We talk about something that's not limited yet. When I see something in the sky moving appendages like this, and it's crossing through the atmosphere, I call it what? I call it a bird. But is it a bird? And what makes it a bird? And who defines what a bird is? You see what I'm saying? That's something that was defined by an individual who other individuals agreed upon, and therefore use that language to define that being that is in the sky. And therefore, we diminish that being into a box of one word. The same way where your ancestors never had a word for God. They never had a word for God. You can't name something that's omniscient. The closest you can get to a name for God is the all. Because God is the trees, God is the wind, God is the grass, God is the roach, God is the rat, God is the tiger, God is the lion, God is everything. So when I put a name to God, I diminish God into something small enough, and according for me to understand, but not only understand, but to put my own anthropomorphized comprehension of it and expectation of it. So now God is love, God is good, God is bad, God is great, God is fearful, God is this, God is that, whatever the case may be. Yeah, my phone went with it too.
And the fact that you put a thought to it in of itself is a limitation.
Yes. And all these things create limitations within something that's supposed to be omnipresent. Omni means everywhere at all times. Something that's omni can't be in heaven. Something that's omni can't be in one part of the universe. But I'm taking this to a whole nother subject. Back to fear. It is the combination of a chemical reaction and the conditioning of an unknowingness. And I'm glad you asked that. Now, the first thing you asked is, what is fear? Fear is a combination of chemical reactions within the human body dealing with the glandular structure and a hormonal release from the brain that gives you an adrenaline rush and all of these different things, different feelings. This is why you shake when you're in fear, you sweat. Some people actually urinate on themselves or defecate on themselves. There's different degrees of fear that release different chemical reactions in the body. Then you have the other aspect of fear of just not knowing what's going to happen to you, not knowing what's in the dark, not knowing if you're going to die, not knowing if you're going to feel pain, not knowing if you're going to be hurt. It's just all a not knowingness. Now, your second question was what again?
Why do we experience it?
Oh, well, you experience it because on this physical plane, you possess every sensation of your body in order to merge the physical with the spiritual. Now, you hear a lot of so-called conscious people. See, asking why we experience fear is the same way as asking why we experience pleasure. It's the same way as asking why we experience love. Because you're just talking about one emotion at different degrees. So it's all one and the same. So you're technically talking about the law of polarity, technically, to a certain extent, on a spectrum. But you're here to experience every sensation and every emotion in your physical body and existence connected to your brain. So you experience these things in order to heighten the sensation, which is electrical signals. Every sensation from touch to hearing and all of this is a combination of touch combined with an electrical signal. Because guess what? If your brain doesn't react to that electrical signal, you don't feel the sensation. Simple as that. You could be in a coma and I can cut off your arm while you're in a coma and you won't feel any pain. So therefore, we know for a fact that pain is only real by the electrical sensation being sent to the brain. And it is sensation. It's sense ion. What is the ion? You have a negative ion, you have a positive ion. The ions are what creates electrical charges. So it's your senses connected to your ions. Sensation. You see? So that was the second question. Why? The second question was why, right? Why do we experience it?
But I even want to throw in because an observation, which or piece of knowledge that I know of why I think we experience fear. Also, it's also a form of quote unquote safety mechanism.
Okay. Yes.
In certain aspects,
which is another chemical reaction.
Yes.
Just like instinct.
It requires the electrical
just like instinct, because we going back now. Remember when I started in the first video that unfortunately technology interrupted? I talked about the fight or flight, which is connected to the reptilian brain. So that's another chemical reaction. The reptilian brain is connected to your glandular structure. Your glands is what releases the chemicals, like your pituitary, your pineal, your hypothalamus, your endocrine system. They're glandular structures that releases chemicals into the body that gives you stimulations and reactions to your muscles and your body parts, which makes you run, which makes you piss on yourself, which makes you relieve your bowels without even having the intentions to do so. So that's saying the same thing in a different way. So, but you're absolutely right, but it's saying the same thing in a different way. So we went through the what is fear, which is a combination of chemical reactions, and the unknown, which is a conditioning, by the way, because our ancestors at one time embraced darkness. As a matter of fact, anybody that has studied the pineal gland knows that the more you engulf yourself in darkness, the more you nurture the pineal gland, which is why, as so-called, for lack of a better term, African people or melanin-dominated people, we are not supposed to be partying all night until the sun comes up. We are supposed to be in a relaxed or sleep state between the hours of 11, 12, midnight to sunrise.
When it's dark, basically.
When it's dark, when it's its darkest. Not just when it's dark, but when it's its darkest. Because a lot of people don't understand that there's actually degrees of blackness. There's degrees of darkness. That's why Elijah Muhammad taught about the triple blackness, which is found in the womb. So you have the shadow hours, which we call nighttime. That's not complete darkness, though. You see? And then you have another level of darkness or blackness. Then you have another level of darkness or black. And you know, the crazy thing is, we don't even acknowledge the different shades of blackness until we actually see it. And then we go, oh shit, that's really black. You know what I mean?
There's a triple blackness. What happened to the single darkness and the double darkness? That's what makes me immediately think about right now.
The same way as when we see certain type of Africans, we go, oh damn, man, look at how dark that brother is. But then you'll see another African look light skinned.
Yeah.
So There's degrees to darkness, there's degrees to blackness. And it's a state. It's a primordial state where all existence emerges from. All colors, all entities, all beings, all geometrics, and so on and so forth. All tones, everything emerges from that primordial blackness, that triple black womb within that mother. So, fear is a combination of chemical reactions in the unknown, number one. Number two, we experience fear because our bodies is an intelligent instrument, just like any other antenna and conduit on the planet, no matter whether it's man-made, synthetic, or organic. Our body is designed to experience every sensation and every emotion in order for us to master the merging of that emotion and that physical with the spiritual. Your body is already physical. So once you acknowledge the sensation that's going through your body, you're acknowledging the physical. Simultaneously, since unfortunately, since we're under a European society and standard, we dismiss the spiritual and only acknowledge the physical. So I got stabbed, oh, that hurts. And you know how this is real. Some of y'all watching this right now have been shot, stabbed, all type of things, and did not notice the pain until you looked at the wound. What is that? So if pain is real, if your sensations are physically real, why you gotta look at a wound before you can actually feel the pain? You know why? Because using your sense of sight connects the signal to the brain that sends the electrical signal up that gives you the pain. So if you can train yourself, you won't feel shit, which is what martial artists do. They train their brains and their minds. This is why you never see martial artists looking like bodybuilders breaking bricks. They look like skinny little old men, and they're breaking bricks in wood. Why? Why was Bruce Lee able to take one kick and kick 5 people at the same time across the whole set? Why? Because they channeled what they refer to as chi, which is the ions in the air combined with the sensations in the body. And once you channel and you concentrate those sensations, you gain more power. That's why if you notice anybody that works out or that does lifting or anything of that European bodybuilding gay nature, you know, what do they tell you? Before your last pump, when you feel you can't do it, what they say? Breathe, breathe. And then you get that last little bit out. Now, if you study martial arts, all they do is breathe. But see, when you in a European perspective, they only make you breathe one time to get out that one last rep, because they're not using it properly to its fullest extent, because they don't believe in the spirit, and the breath is the spirit. So, number one, fear, combinations of chemical reactions in the unknown. Number two, why is it here? Because every sensation and every emotion is here for you to merge the physical with the spiritual, to understand that nothing is separated. And this is what allows you to go through the veils. This is what allows you to go through different frequencies. This is why I laugh at humans that go, oh, I'm not lowering my level to get them to understand. Well, that means you're just not divine. You're not a God. Because when Jesus came down in this motherfucker, he was talking to the prostitutes, the pimps, and the homeless. So if you feel you can't lower yourself, then that means you haven't reached a certain height in the first place. I could sit and talk with the most grittiest, gangsterist, thuggish, ignorant nigga and find the intelligence in that individual. Because intelligence doesn't come with grammar and doesn't come with eloquence. Intelligence is just the ability to have discernment and have the capability of expression and also questioning. Because someone who is a little child who could barely speak English is intelligent. But we associate intelligence with using proper grammar. We associate intelligence with proper English and dialect and all this nonsense, which is the European perspective, which, by the way, is physical again, because how you use your tongue dictates if you're intelligent. The piece of paper that you get from a building called a university dictates your intelligence, and that's incorrect.
And meanwhile, our ancestors weren't using their tongues whatsoever. They used to just transfer images right to each other's brains.
So. Telepathic. And we need to practice that more and more, because it's already in us. It's already there. When you're thinking about somebody in this call, that's what it is. Claim that shit. The more you claim it, the more it happens. The more it happens, the more you master it. The more you master it, the more you become it. And the funny thing about it is we start doing this as children and we get shut down by our parents. Boy, stop lying. Ain't nobody in that room. Boy, stop lying. Ain't no such thing as ghosts. Boy, stop lying. And then blah, 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 blah. We get shut down by our parents, which, by the way, is the first steps of the building blocks of the ego. Because the first thing your parent says is, you know you sound crazy, right? Don't be going outside talking like that. Bam. Now you become reluctant within your spirituality at 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. And once you get past 7, you're past the age of reason. So now you get overly logical and you're only focused on your individual identity. And this goes into the cycles of 7, which is another subject, but I'm not touching on now. You said the third one was how to use it, right?
Well, pretty much, but basically I said that how does it benefit us?
Okay, now that goes back to the second one, because the benefit of fear and every other emotion is the ability to channel the energy of what you call the sense ion or sensation, which is the electrical charge in your body that gets sent to your brain. If you're aware of the sense, like I'll give you an example about pain. I can't use fear because I'm not gonna lie, I don't fear a lot of things, but I personally use pain. Like when I'm doing a manifestation or when I used to do my little spell work and all that stuff, I would use pain. I would literally whip myself, and I'm going to sound crazy and I don't give a fuck. I used to take a belt and I used to beat myself as hard as possible at the same time while I'm sitting in front of a mirror, at the same time while I'm saying my affirmations, while I have specific candles, specific herbs and all these different things. I would do a ritual where I would induce pain on myself to increase the sensation and then channel the energy to bring it back to my mind in the image in my brain to make that thing I'm thinking of a reality. Because remember, the more you feel something, the more you gravitate it. Feeling is magnetism. Now, let's go to The Secret. Those of you who are aware, there's a documentary called The Secret that came out many, many years ago. They always leave out parts of the equation. Oh, Think and Grow Rich. I remember my stage, probably when I was his age or even younger. I was reading all those books, Think and Grow Rich, Carnegie, all these white books about how to get rich and all this nonsense. And excuse me, let me not call it nonsense, but utilizing the occult for monetary aspects exclusively. And they always said, think about it, focus, focus, focus. But they always left out one key ingredient: get angry about it. Get mad about it. Get passionate about it. Be ready to kill about it. Feel the pain about it. Smell it, touch it, taste it. All your sensations have to be combined to create the strongest signal and the strongest concentration of energy to gravitate it towards you. So pain, that's why now let's go into something else. That's why now we in the God realm now, y'all. I know a lot of human brains this is gonna go over y'all head. But we in a God realm now. I'm with a fellow God, and I'm gonna speak like a God with a fellow God. That's why if you notice, the so-called elite, who you call satanic groups, they use human sacrifice, they use bloodshed, bloodletting, they use pain, they use all these things. Why? Because these are the highest degrees of sensation. You know what is the polarity to those highest degrees? Can you take a guess? If I'm doing child sacrifice, if I'm doing bloodletting, if I'm inflicting pain on somebody during a ritual, what do you think is the polarity to that can equate that energy, but that's technically the opposite?
Well, as far as the only obvious one I can think of off the top of my head, honestly, is when you talk about the pain, we already established that the polarity of pain is pleasure. And you can actually use sex as a form of manifestation.
This is where the ritual orgy comes in, which y'all want to demonize. But understand that your ancestors practiced ritual orgy. They just didn't sacrifice babies and shit. That's the difference. See, you got one set of people learning the science from the people who came before them. And because they are not equipped with the same structure and design, they have to use a lower frequency. This is not good or evil. This is not good or evil. Because this toaster works on a 120 voltage, and because my toaster, which is bigger and better, works on a 240 voltage, the 120 voltage has to find a different way to channel the same energy to get to the same level that I can get to effortlessly. So your ancestors had ritual orgies. Your ancestors used the orgasm instead. Your ancestors used menstrual blood instead. But what did the European do? Since the European is terrified of the vagina, since the European is homosexual, the European used root chakra stimulation from anal sex with men and used blood sacrifice with babies and children. You know why? Because the European didn't want nothing to do with the menstrual blood. But think about the efficient. Now let's go. This is another thing that I like to teach, which now I got a new name for it. It's called DEFI, Design Energy Function Efficiency. Okay. Yeah. I gotta start building it up because it just works too well. I've been doing it too long. But let's not look at this as humans. Let's look at this as scientists. Instead of judging the satanic, so-called white, terrifying, evil, disgusting elite, instead of judging the ancestors that did the certain things that they do to achieve certain levels of divinity and traditions and rituals within their time frame, let's look at this like scientists. The woman naturally sheds blood within a specific cycle every month. The blood she sheds comes directly from the same womb that gestates life. If I'm a homosexual, I don't want nothing to do with a woman. So if I want to achieve the same purity of blood, where do I have to get it from?
The child.
If the child comes from the womb, now I gotta go to the child to try to get the highest form of frequency to use that blood for my ritual. So it's not that they want to be evil or anything. They don't have a choice. Excuse me, let me not say they don't have a choice because everything is a choice. They don't have the design to tap into the same abilities and frequency. Now, your ancestors, don't ever get it twisted. Some of y'all who truly study African traditions and so on and so forth, you already know that your ancestors, we don't want to call it sacrificing children, but if a child came out deformed, they discarded the child because they understood one disformed child can disform the entire village. So it wasn't about being evil or anything like that. It was about protecting the whole, instead of having a preference for the individual, which, by the way, is the European mindset, survival of the fittest. So you want your child to survive, so you'll kill all the children in the village. Now, which one is evil? So if I kill your child who can infect the whole village, and I throw your child off that cliff in a ritual and give back to the gods to protect the village of generations, I'm evil. But if you protect your child to destroy the village, you're a good mother or a good parent because you're protecting your child. We gotta think about these things. We're not looking at them with the correct mind of separating judgment. And that's the human brain that does that. The human brain instills judgment in everything. Well, that's your child. How could you let your child? Well, wait a second. Isn't every child my child? So if I have a village full of children and I have one child that's sick, and I allow the one child that's sick that could not ever be healed die to save the rest of my children, doesn't that make me a better parent than the parent who has the one child and doesn't look at any other child in existence as their responsibility? But that's another subject. Now,
and also European thinking as well.
Also European thinking. Survival of the fittest. I want to survive. I want to eat. Fuck you. You died. I'm not feeding your children. That's not my responsibility. I got my own children to feed. I got myself to feed. And this is where we live at today in this society as black people. Which is another reason why there is no unification. But I don't want to get on that corny ass shit because that shit is corny. And that shit is human as fuck. If you activate divinity within yourself, you won't need unification because the activation of your divinity is the connection to your genetic structure in the first place. So when I activate my divinity, I activate this brother's divinity, we already telepathic on a whole nother level. So I don't need to sit down with his ass and have an economic plan. I don't need to do that shit. Other groups don't need to do that shit. They just follow a culture that enforces them to only deal with each other. They don't need to sit down and make a plan. We need to do that because we've been separated from a culture that taught us about a divine state to where we could connect it outside of everything, making us one mind, one blood. But now you're Trini, you're Jamaican, you're American, you're African, you're Kenyan, you're Nigerian, you're all this other shit when all these white people just see a fucking nigga. They don't give a fuck what your parents look like. They don't give a damn what language you speak. But you're sitting there dividing yourself between who's black enough. But that's another video.
Yeah.
So the last one,
which is, how do we get rid of fear?
You can't get rid of fear. All you can do is utilize it, recognize it, and channel it at the time that it comes. You don't get rid of anything. That's an illusion. You don't get rid of anything. You can ignore it. You could pretend it's not there. It's just like this current situation. Gender doesn't exist in all. You're not getting rid of gender because your dumbass is still going to a gynecologist. You're not getting rid of gender because your dumbass is still going to a surgeon to mutilate your ass to look like some deceptive version of your illusion. You're not getting rid of it. You're just trying to ignore it and transform it into something else. So you don't get rid of fear, you utilize it and channel it into another energy so it will transform itself into something else. There's nothing in this existence that you're getting rid of. Everything is here to be utilized and to be recognized as what it is by its design, energy, function, and efficiency. Fear is necessary, love is necessary, pleasure is necessary, pain is necessary, anger is necessary. A lot of people think they shouldn't be arguing. Arguments are healthy in a relationship. What do I mean by that? There is a proper way to do everything in existence. If you look at your grandparents, they had arguments a lot. But they never had arguments that led to the destruction of the relationship.
Life in Africa goes into great detail about how to have a proper argument.
Yes. Yes. Everything in this existence is here because it's a necessity. It's not here by mistake. It's not here by mistake. It's the same thing with Europeans. Oh, your appendix, your appendix is useless. There's no use for it. No.
Vestigial organ.
No. Vestigial organ. Your tonsils. No. Everything in this existence that was created by a specific design has a specific function and purpose. Just because you have deformed and degenerated to an extent where you can't use it no more, don't mean it did not have a purpose at one time. The goal is to bring yourself back to a level to where it becomes reactivated. So now my tonsils become my gills again, and I can breathe underwater like I used to. We ain't gonna get into that though. But yes, my brother, that was the 4, right? So let's just recap. What is fear? The combination of chemical reactions within the body combined with the unknowingness that usually comes from a form of conditioning. Why is fear here? Fear is here like every other emotion, from anger to pleasure, euphoria, whatever you want to call it, is here to be channeled, is here to be utilized, and to merge the physical with the spiritual to understand that there's no separation. How do you use fear? You use fear by concentrating it, recognizing it, and channeling it for either manifestations, for drive, for willpower. There's a lot of people that as soon as they feel fear, they do exactly what they're fearing. They use their fear as motivation. We see that all the time. Yo, I ain't go front, I'm scared, but fuck it. Nigga just jump off a fucking cliff with a bungee cord. You see what I'm saying? There's people who run right into their fear. And there's people who allow their fear to hold them back. So fear is here to be utilized. And then lastly, how do we get rid of fear? You don't get rid of fear. You transform it, you concentrate it, you channel it, you utilize. You don't get rid of fear. The closest thing to getting rid of fear is transforming fear. That's the closest way you can get to getting rid of fear. So,
since we're on the topic of fear, a lot of people will say that fear is a low frequency emotion, which now brings the conversation about what kind of frequency do each emotions project, and what are the importance of these frequencies projected by these emotions.
Now you're talking about the scale of frequency, which we see a lot on conscious people pages. Like when you see anger, depression, da 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 da, and then at the top you see love, joy, da 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 da. So
on top, though.
yeah, so I will say to that is it's no different from a musical scale. You have sopranos, you have altos, you have the A tones, C sharp, so on and so forth. Which tones which tones on the musical scales are bad? Which tones on the musical scale are evil? But guess what? There's a specific A sharp or a specific sharp tone that will break this glass right now. Does that make that tone evil? Or does that make that glass inefficient for the frequency of that wave of tone? Because that tone doesn't break the brick, but it breaks the glass. Because the glass is not in an efficient material density to embrace that frequency and its wave. Because frequency is waves within densities.
Vibrations, basically.
And vibrations, which is one of the 7 laws. Everything comes down to the 7 laws, but I don't want to make this video about the 7 laws. But to answer your question, all frequency is density of waves and vibrations. How dense, how less dense. The less dense, the higher. The more concentrated, the more sharper the tone. And if you notice, frequencies and tones and sounds have the ability to not just affect matter, but can actually move things.
Yeah.
We see that sometimes where we might place sand on a table or a piece of paper and put a speaker under it. And depending on the different tones and levels of bass, the sand will create a different geometrical shape. Which lets you know that tones, geometrics, and frequencies are the foundation of the entire existence of the universe, because the first tone is what created the first geometric. The first geometrics is what created the first densities. The first densities is what created the first dimensions. The first dimensions is what created the first worlds. And then, of course, you have the minerals and elements next that create the physical aspect, what you call planets and stars. So everything is within a synchronized sequence aspect. Joy is the highest. We keep talking about this love bullshit. Joy is the highest frequency. So what you need to do is find who brings you joy. If you're around somebody and they always got you smiling, they always got you feeling good, that's the motherfucker you need to love, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Not the motherfucker that makes you feel so many emotions at one time. You're confusing those, which goes into something, because as usual, I'm constantly doing my consultations, and right now it really never changes because it's always kind of the same cycles, and I understand it because the human brain keeps us locked in cycles in the first place. But one thing I notice a lot, especially with women, is they equate the fluctuations of their emotions to love based on becoming addicted to those fluctuations. So when you feel indecisive, you feel worried, you feel ridiculed, you feel all these different things, and then you get that stimulation to your system, that chemical reaction. Depending on the consistency of that chemical reaction is what dictates your addiction to the chemical reaction.
And I was just about to say that's pretty much like a drug.
Yes,
no different.
It is a drug.
It
is a drug because it's a chemical in your body being released. The difference is we think we have to take something outside of our body to receive the same releasing, and that's not true. Because every drug that's synthetic that you take for your body is only stimulating something that already exists inside your body. When you take cocaine, it's only stimulating the adrenaline already there. When you take heroin, it's only stimulating the dopamine that's already there. So this is why a lot of us become addicted to sex and immediate gratification, because what? Sex releases oxytocin during an orgasm. So now you become addicted to sex, and you're relating sex to love now. Oh, he got some good dick. Oh, she got some good pussy. I love him. I love her. That's why love is an arbitrary, useless word. I'm sorry, my human beings and family, but it's a useless fucking word. That's why, to be honest with you, if you go through the 7 universal laws, if you go through the 42 negative confessions, if you go through the 7 principles of Ma'at, if you go through the 10 virtues of Ma'at, there's no love. They don't talk about love. Don't get me wrong, later on we start talking about love and all this shit, but every relationship was built upon respect. Respect for the family first. If you notice in African culture, the family becomes before the individual. Does he come from a respectable family? Who's his father? Who's his mother? What's his family like? They don't even ask about the individual.
Yeah.
Who's his father?
And I know because my mom.
Who's his mother? This is an African right here. Who's his father? Who's his mother? What's his family like? That's the first thing they ask. What do we ask in the Western world? What does he do for a living? Because your occupation defines your identity in this side of the planet, in this era in time, which is not connected to the soul. Because when I ask you what's his family like, I'm talking about your genetic bloodline. I'm talking about the spiritual generations, which is 7 times 7 of your grandmothers that come before you. Because, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, which only makes sense because if you're looking at if genetics, which is also connected, which is actually factually connected to the behavior in you, then if you know that their mother is a good person or quote unquote good person, their grandmother's a good person, and their great grandmother's a good person, 9 times out of 10, you're probably gonna be a good person, and you're probably a good mate for my daughter or my son.
Which is a combination because not only is it your genetic, but we know by the combination of your genetic trait that that's going to instill a specific behavior, which is going to instill a specific upbringing.
Yes.
So if I know your grandmother was this and your great grandmother was that, I know it was impossible if they raised you for you to be anything outside of what they are.
And of course, that also means the children will also be able to inherit that DNA and also express those values.
But what do we ask today? What he do, girl? What he do for a living? He make money? He make money? He make money? There you go. Meanwhile, his character is shitty. His body is not alkaline. It's acidic as fuck. His bloodline is shitty. You're inheriting all the spirits and demons that's been on that man's back his whole life. You got a baby with him, but the nigga could pay bills. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And I also wanted to add to that other point that you said about the love aspect, in which technically you can do anything with a certain form of consistency and still fall in love with it.
Yes.
Someone can treat you right, take care of you, so on and so forth, and you feel love. And then the opposite could happen where someone could beat the shit out of you, put you in the shittiest place, don't treat you like shit, and you still love them. So
this is the combination of love being arbitrary and perception being reality. Because someone who is conditioned within an environment that physical abuse is connected to affection. Because see, that's where that comes in. Nobody really connects this, but when I see my mother being beat by my father or being controlled in an abusive aspect, because remember, y'all, there's a proper and improper way to do everything. Control is necessary. Yes. Females, you're out of control right now, which is why all these damn children are trying to be giraffes and fucking whatever, an alien species or whatever the fuck they think they want to be today. That's no order. That's chaos within chaos of chaos. But anyway, when I see one form of control is based on consistency and attentiveness. Even the master is attentive to the slave. Now, we associate attentiveness with some type of positive care. But I could be making sure you don't move all day. That's attentive.
Shit, if I have to pay attention to beat your ass. So,
in order to be abusive, I gotta be consistent. I gotta be consistent. In order for me to be controlling and a negative perspective, I gotta be calling you 24/7. Where you at? Get your ass. I don't got time to focus on anybody else. So that's why, by the way, not to make this another subject, that's why the only form of cheating is neglect. When your man neglects your needs, when your man neglects your attention, when your man neglects your pleasure, that's cheating.
I agree with that.
Not where his penis goes. But that's another subject. Anything with consistency will condition you. Anything with consistency creates an addiction. It starts with a habit. And then the habit turns into condition because the chemical reactions in the body from those emotional outbreaks and those traumatic experiences, which, by the way, is first dictated by your perception of the experience. Because something only becomes traumatic based on how you perceive it.
So gang initiation requires you to get beat down. That's supposed to be a sign of, you're a warrior, man.
I used to do that when I was a kid. We used to beat on each other for fun. We used to play games like Kill the Carrier. We used to slap box all the time. We used to jump each other. We used to push each other out of trees. We used to get scrapes and cuts and bleed. And it was fun.
Signs of confidence. And
it was fun.
Yep.
We loved it. We used to punch each other in the chest. We used to do what we used to call body blows, where we would punch each other as hard as you can. You could punch anywhere you want. You just can't hit the face. We used to do body blows and punch each other as hard as we can in our body, and we would laugh about it. Today, that's abuse. And then you wonder why you walking around with bitch niggas that's getting their nails done and more worried about their appearance than worried about their ability to protect you. Which is why they have more fear over pain than anything else, because it's pain that has never been tolerated and brought to a level where it's concentrated into power.
That's perfect to even connect to this particular situation, considering that they actually make men go through rites of passage, experience fear in order for them to be able to be a better man, because they're not afraid of fear, or they don't give into their fear.
And take it a step further, which is why our ancestors taught that there is no death. Because once you teach that there is no death, there's only transition of life into new cycles, you don't fear death either, which is why your ancestors jumped overboard in the middle of the transatlantic slavery. Because they didn't fear death. They knew that they would be reborn, reincarnated, whatever the fuck you believe, you know that there is no end to your spirit and your soul. But today, we're under European rule and European conditioning, where everything that we feel, everything that we see, everything that we believe, everything that we perceive comes from a European brain and European eyes. So now all I got to do is, oh, you can't go this, and this place without having this. Oh no, here, inject me with poison. The fuck is that? The fuck? You scared to miss a meal? You scared to not go to Cancun? Huh? Fuck out of here. You were just slave just like you ever was a slave. Ain't nothing changed. Ain't nothing changed. Ain't nothing changed. Perception dictates reality. And your perception comes from your conditioning of your region, of the superior aspects of that region, of your era, of your time frame, all these things. Everything in existence is a mathematical scientific equation. Everything. How you take a shit, how you jerk off, the weather, fashion, everything is a science. It's either based on geometrics, symmetry, elements, which you want to call ingredients while you're cooking. It's based on all these different things. Once we realize, utilizing the God mind over the human brain, that everything is an equation of elements, ingredients, degrees, angles, spectrums, then guess what? Whatever you observe or whatever you experience doesn't have the power to hurt you anymore. The only thing left to do is differentiate on whether, is this a challenge? Is this a lesson? Is this an experience? Or is this an initiation? Initiations come with pain. Initiations come with fear. Challenges comes with something that goes against what you think you can't do. It's a challenge. An experience is something that you've completed and gone through and now have the feeling of it. A lesson, you fucking learned some shit. Okay, I learned not to fuck with him no more. That's a lesson. You don't go, why do people do this to me? Everybody's so mean. That's you taking a lesson wrong. You took the lesson wrong. Oh, why does everybody keep using me? I don't want to be used anymore. No, nigga, you took the lesson wrong. Take the lesson, motherfucker, with your human brain ass.
Fail that test, man.
You failed the lesson. And that's the human brain. That's why my goal and my teaching from day one is to separate your human brain and activate your God mind. And that's why I know I'm never going to be popular. I don't give a fuck. It is what it is. Because my purpose overrides my preference. I don't hear other people saying this shit. Oh, Black Power. Let's march. Politics. We need black people in office. And motherfucker, you've been doing that shit for decades. Decades. You getting murdered more now than you were when your grandparents was getting sprayed down my holes and dog sicked on them. They was just getting their ass beat. You getting murdered on a daily basis. Your shit got worse. And you talking about economic plans and all of this fucking, we need unity and all that. No, you need divinity, motherfucker. Because when you become divine and you tap into that God mind, everywhere you walk upon this earth, you are seen differently immediately or not seen at all, which I prefer. I don't want none of these motherfuckers to see me. I want those who are my fellow gods to see me. Because gods see gods. Humans see crazy people. Oh, that ain't crazy, man. He's crazy. Don't listen to him. He don't want to get poisoned. He don't want to eat this. He don't want that crazy. He crazy, man. He don't want to follow the rules. That's crazy. That's why I embrace that word, crazy. I love, man, when anybody call me crazy, weird, all that, I love it.
You're doing the right thing.
I love it. I will get so mad if somebody say, hey, you're just like everybody else. I get so mad. Ooh, I'd be mad as hell if somebody told me that shit. I'd be mad as hell. Which leads me to another thing. If you are afraid to be embarrassed, if you are afraid to look crazy, then by absolute fact, you are a slave to your ego. There are times, and I don't do it as much as I used to, but there are times where I literally go out my way to look crazy in public. One thing I used to do, which I don't do anymore, which I might start doing again, is I used to sun gaze in the middle of the street. I used to go to a corner in an intersection, especially if the sun was beaming at the time, and then I would just look up, and I would just sun gaze right at the sun, and I would scream my affirmations out. I, mind, such possessive and straight that all aspects of the capabilities and manifestation, knowing that all laws of the universe in agreement for mind, civic growth, powers, and abundance of all wealth, with all great. Damn, I forgot the rest of that shit. But I always have it there. But anyway, I used to scream my shit out, and I used to love people walking by me just like, the fuck is wrong with this nigga? I used to love that shit, because the more they do it, there is no wrong type of deification. Whether you make me a devil or you make me a god, you're still deifying me.
Still power.
You're still deifying me. So whether you hate me, whether you love me, you're still deifying me. I used to walk across the highway.
That's new. You never told me.
No, yeah. Well, not walk across it, but like alongside of it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I used to sit there. I used to do my affirmations on the highway and allow people to ride by. Therefore, every person driving by would see me and would associate me either with a crazy man or not. But regardless, you know, when you're on the highway, you got hundreds of cars passing by like lightning.
All that energy. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I used to use that energy. I used to use that attention. You know?
And that's the key word right there. It's the attention.
Attention. Which, by the way, attentive ion. Isn't that what we're saying? Attentive ion.
Which also goes into the fact that the only way you to truly get rid of something is to not give it no attention whatsoever.
Which is exactly why Mind Ascension doesn't address certain topics, doesn't post certain nonsense, and you'll never see certain things regarding celebrities, police brutality, politics, anything associated with Mind Ascension. And I know this is another thing that makes me very unpopular, because most humans want to talk about that stuff. So because I don't talk about that stuff, a lot of people don't tune in because they want to talk about the latest thing, the latest trend, the latest gossip and all of that stuff. But guess what? That doesn't exist in my world at all. Me and this brother over here, we go wherever we want, and we don't experience the nonsense that y'all experience right now.
You wouldn't believe half the stories. Shit.
We just don't. Because we vibrate on a different frequency where certain shit just doesn't exist at all. At all for us. We don't get asked questions. We don't get stopped. We do nothing. Like, how many places have we been? Have we ever been stopped or asked or told we can't do it? I remember we went to that restaurant, which is which we gotta go back because I love that piece of it. I
The
went
one
to
in
that
Brooklyn,
restaurant.
right?
Yeah.
No.
And they had all that stupid shit up,
Mhm.
all that dumb shit up, and the lady
And they
just said,
sat us down.
yeah, the lady said, oh, come on in.
Yep.
Sit down, guys.
They sat us down.
Didn't ask us no questions. Didn't say, hey, it's not like people ask us questions and then let us go. They don't question anything we do.
As if it didn't even exist to begin
Like
with.
it didn't exist for us. And we looking right at the other table and there's a family
And they
there
all wearing the shit.
following the bullshit. You see what I'm
Following
saying?
the shit.
You create your own world. The more you follow this bullshit, no matter what it is, it becomes part of your perception, which becomes your reality. Take the chance. That's one thing with black people. We're so obedient. We don't even take the chance to go against shit. We don't even take the chance. Like, just take the chance. What's going to happen? They're going to tell you to leave? Then leave. Take the chance. And the more of you that take the chance, the more you transform this entire era, this entire society. Y'all don't take no chance. Y'all don't want to go without food for a week. Take the chance. Teach your children how to fast. Teach them that food means nothing but stimulation. Teach them that, especially your sons. Not the girls as much, but the sons. By the time he reaches 7 to 14 years old, he will be a master of his body. He will take his energy from the breath. While your ass still trying to practice prana breathing and 30, 40 years old.
Fasting is a true epitome of needing nothing in the physical aspect.
Man needs nothing. He is a changer. He is an architect. Woman is everything. So she needs the reflections of what she is. Because she's everything. She's every sensation, she's every emotion, and she's every element. So she doesn't need food as sustenance. She needs food as flavor to the palate to stimulate the energy she possesses. To bring her back in tune to what she is. That's why food is therapy for the female. It's therapy. They don't eat because they're starving. They eat because they're happy. They eat because they're sad. They eat because they're lonely. They eat because they're bored. They don't eat because they're starving. And I've had many, many consultations where women were trying to fast, and I told them, I said, listen, go freeze a piece of fruit and suck on it for 5 minutes. They go, they do what I say. They say, wow, I don't feel hungry. Wow. Because it was the flavor you needed. The flavor stimulated the tongue palate that sent the sensation to your brain that you ate.
Not the consumption of it.
Not the consumption. Not the digestion. Digestion. Not that bullshit that Europeans teach you. You are a, what's the word? I see you, Ty. Anthrotropic, I believe is the word.
Autotropic.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. You are an autotrophic being. You're no different from a plant. You've been conditioned to lower yourself to this bullshit you at now.
I need everything else.
But you're no different from a plant. You have the same photosynthesis capability. Taking sunlight, taking air. You could transform the air into water in your system by condensation alone in your system. Your liver alone filtrates the water that you drink. Now, this doesn't mean you could drink sewer water and be good, but what this means is any water you drink that's halfway clean, your liver will help you filter it, because that's what the liver does. The liver has over 500 functions. Your kidneys and your liver are the sanitation aspect of your body. So buying a $3,000 machine for water and all this Cajun religion that I'm seeing now, Cajun water is the best. When I was first doing all this shit years ago, before wokeness was popular, distilled water was the best water on the planet. Now, distilled water is dead. It's dead water. It's not giving you anything. Your water ain't supposed to give you shit. Food don't give you shit. Food don't give you nothing. If food gave you something, you wouldn't shit the same pounds that you eat. And for those of you who are not shitting the same pounds that you eat, you're unhealthy.
Constipated.
You're unhealthy. Because if I eat 10 pounds of food, I should at least be shitting 9 pounds. because food does not give you anything. It only stimulates what you already possess in your body. But anyway, is there anything you want to add, or any one last question, or anything, so we can wrap it up, because we getting
going
close to
off
an
topic.
hour.
I mean, to be honest,
Hey,
that's
we
the
can go
time.
anywhere we want. This is divine exchange, brother.
Well, my brother, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That pretty much satisfied everything on my mind. Not gonna lie. The fact that we're already kind of expanding beyond the original topic in of itself just means that it's time to wrap it up.
Yes, sir.
So,
So let's just recap. What is fear? Fear is the combination of the chemical reactions of the body combined with the unknown of the mind and conditioning of society. Why is fear? Fear is just like any other emotion combined with sensations that we're here to utilize on this physical plane with this physical vessel that we call a body, which is highly intelligent, utilized to combine the spiritual with the physical to know that there is no division in the first place. How do we use fear? The same way I just said with that second question, which is channeling the fear as a chemical rush in energy in order to stimulate certain parts of our mind, certain parts of our manifestation, certain parts of our drive and our will, our ambition, our motivation, whichever way you want to take it. The human side is motivation, ambition. That's the human side. The divine side is manifestation, conjuring, and so on and so forth. And then lastly, how do you get rid of fear? You don't get rid of fear. You either channel it or you transform it. So, after that recap on that note, Mind Ascension here, Black Light Order here. I love y'all to death. Please utilize me. I'm here to be utilized. Realize all questions is evidence of intelligence. For y'all that's so scared to question, I accept everybody that knows me, I accept criticism. I accept challenges. I accept debate. Nobody ever does it, but I'm open to it. I'm open to it. But please share. Please subscribe. Please support. If there's anything that I've ever said in all these years I've been doing what I've been doing for nothing, if there's anything I've ever said that sparked a new form of thought that you've applied in your life that have changed the way you do things, the way you think, the way you receive in life, please drop an appreciation, a donation, and reciprocation. $ Mind Ascension 1 is the Cash App. If you are curious of a consultation or divination, consultation is dealing with my direct knowledge, my direct mind of any historical, metaphysical, occultism, or natural remedies that you are curious about or that you would like to utilize for your personal or for any family members or anybody in your life. That is a consultation dealing with my own personal knowledge, my own advice, interactions, experience, wisdom, so on and so forth. A divination is dealing with the utilization of the elements, numerology, and basically my personal divination is always dealing with the cubes or the dice, which I call cube viewing.
Which I think you kind of want to do again.
Yes. Already did one for this brother, and he saw it immediately. But wrapping that up, the number is 646-575-8305. Once again, the number is 646-575-8305. Please send a text message before you try to call. Please text me first. Even if you just want to exchange, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But once you start asking questions and seeking clarity and seeking understanding and answers, you're doing a consultation. Some of y'all don't understand that. Some of y'all try to befriend me and then ask me all these questions and ask me to clarify other things and don't realize that that's what a consultation is about. So I do full consultations one-on-one, which is $50 an hour, $75 for 2 hours. And I also do DM or text consultations, which is $10. All right. So on that note, we wrapping it up. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Subscribe. Please comment. Don't be afraid to criticize. Don't be afraid to question. Don't be afraid to whatever it is. Even if one say, nigga, you a dumb motherfucker, you don't make no sense. I don't give a fuck what it is, nigga. Let it out. And some of y'all already know how I deal with that human brain shit. I ain't gonna get belligerent on you. I'm gonna accept what your ass is. And I'm gonna still love that shit. But anyway, we're gonna wrap this up. Mind Ascension, we out.